to mesmerize you.
Just waiting for the... Pwede, pwede. Pwede yun. No, wala nang problema nito. Basta nakabato ka na. No problem.
It's a real me when I near you. I feel so good inside. Sentimental journeys. It's a real thing. You know when I near you, feel my desire burning inside me. Oh, feelings you know. Feel my desire burning inside.
Okay, my name is Dave Taylor, and we are a small group, so I think just informal, conversational is going to work much better for me than it works for you. I have made this proposal to do a primary reason when we've got breakout session here, is how the open with that seat for it. It wasn't initially picked up, and then email from Lisa, suggesting that should there be a chance, well, not even that, but should there be interest, would I be available to sit around the reflecting something and have a chat with anybody who might be using it? Yeah. And then the day I was sitting on the plane, she said her note saying, I had a cancellation, never know that. Okay. Not a real problem, because I recognize that a lot of preparation goes into making these kinds of presentations somehow, but I like to speak and present about things that I am doing, that I know about, and it requires me less dedicated time. And as a teacher, I've spoken with other people in other industries, help them make presentations, and for instance, at the company in Singapore, they were giving them 3 weeks leave by their company to prepare their 1-hour presentation, and they got some coaching and everything. As teachers, we do this 5 or 10 times a day, every day, 180 days a year. So the ability to put together something that makes sense has to come from who you are and what we're delivering. On the screen behind me is a part of the whole picture. I want to say briefly. At Overseas Family School in Singapore, and I've given you a copy of our annual newsletter for Model Humanity. We are integrating the Model United Nations skills and practices, the application, the structures, what's it really there for, of Model Humanity, what can we build qualitatively with students and experiences through Model Humanity participation. We're doing that with all of our students at the school, nearly 3,700 students from grades 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. So we have a whole lot of things. 2 weeks from now are arriving during school or so for our Model United Nations High School conference, 700 participants will be there. And although it's on the outside, the inside doesn't here, it's set there, making sure all pieces come together. But I don't need to. I've got a good student team. They are organized. They don't actually have to keep on top of things better. They have the responsibility, they have to move on. We have a middle year Model Nations conference in February, and I've met some of the people, especially in class, who were there, and sort of, Jackie's school, was attending school last year at our middle year's conference, and being well over 600 participants were there. Fantastic experience for the young people. And what we do in the curriculum is we create interdisciplinary units. We have approximately 250 to 300 students per grade level. So we do, right in the curriculum, they learn about the United Nations, they learn about the structures that we use in grade 4. And they've done that for 6 years, and it's evolved over time, getting a lot better, a lot more meaningful for the students. So at the grade 4 level, they're not being a delegate of the country. We're not at that level yet. But they are learning about the environment, as part of their curriculum. And the structure we put for MUN is they get to be an environmental NGO. And if they can find a real NGO out there dealing with part of their environment, you know, your job to start with umbrella and Savannah, your rainbow, habitat, deserts, bios, oil forests, they're seeking to protect and save and make sustainable all these things. If they find an actual NGO doing that, they can find one to make create an NGO, and they then become an NGO at grade 4 level. At our middle years conference, for 4 years at our middle years conference, we invited grade 5 students. They had it in their curriculum. They were representing the country, and they wrestled through some issues, usually through the humanitarian section. They were interested. They wanted to carry their experience forward. They could also attend our middle years and we had conference in the day. Between 20 and 30 of those students. And yesterday in one of the presentations by David, he did some research. Where is the record of the first model in '89 at Rutgers University? But he did recognize that the pattern of that goes back to universities were modeling the limitations of political patterns, precursor. But universities were modeling what the information does when you have United Nations universities and all of that. Somebody said, well, we're going to do some high school students. And of course, it was over the answer. No, high school students couldn't possibly. Couldn't possibly. This was a fat goodness candidate. Some people said, well, we can't fly. But then some brave people decided we could do this with high school students and become the biggest thing in many, many schools, modern languages, for lots and lots of reasons that we all like. And then, at some point, somebody said, I wouldn't agree with all of that, but I can middle this stuff. What was the answer? You can't possibly grapple with these issues in the world when we're on to thousands of years. And Ms. Martin was, I don't know, the founder, but certainly of middle year content. He was important for it. He started the, I think it was the first middle year small education conference called MINA. I was not middle years for that conference of new innovation. But I don't know. And that's been going on. It's highly successful. So we're doing our high school conference, this first one that we started, it's natural evolution. And so I'm thinking about how we can do a middle years conference. And I followed up my colleagues under Heather Dever's inherited master of smart. And asked her, well, I don't want to sort of start something that steals from you. I think she's go for him to do it out at conference. What do you think if we did actually go for it? We're full. And I've got 50 reading this. So just an idea. Just thinking about that. That's all. That was a conversation I had for morning, like 2:30 in the afternoon. I always had 3 emails from schools in the region. Can we come to your middle years and UN conference? And the shepherd said you're having one and she's full. So I went to my board of directors by 3 in the afternoon and said, I got these 3 emails, what should I do with it? They said, well, you better start. So my 1 month, we used MUNOFS, so like our school or the school, and then middle years, middle years conference. When we got our 5th one, that's where I planned our 5th one. We've been integrating our younger kids in the primary school into that sort of seeking them in. And we're getting a tremendous amount of growth out of it. But I thought what we need to have is, because of the size and age difference, we need to have something that's just for them. And so we started the our primary years, small United Nations conference, and I knew it had to be scaffolded. I knew it had to be supported. I knew it had to be for students who would arrive with no club to back them up, no support network from their schools, no regular debate practice, no research at all. And that's what I wanted. I wanted young kids, young 10 years old, to come to an NUN conference. You don't even have to dress special. You'll see in the newsletter here, the story. We printed a t-shirt for them. 2 reasons. One, they all be in appropriate dress for primary years and what's appropriate dress for primary years and when conference. Everybody ever visit the primary years and conference? No, we started. So anything you say is appropriate dress. So we Second reason is we can spot them a mile away. Know who they were and where they should be. So they all get their t-shirt, they all feel special, they're unique. It's at the same time as our middle year's annual conference, our Mine and Ops conference, but it's over here. They attend our opening ceremonies. I wanted it on the same weekend because if the school is coming, for instance, if your school is coming, bringing the middle year through, and there was one elementary school student who wanted to come, maybe sibling of one of the or that would be perfectly fine. No more logistical problems. So coming home to say weekend, they attend our opening ceremonies, they walk and they do their own conference, and the closing ceremonies, they come back and make a presentation. Work is to be done. Last year was our first time. There were students only from our school. The invitation went out, and the feedback I got is, this sounds like an excellent idea. We love to see it in operation. But the feeling I got is we want to see it working before we bring our students to it, before we try to sell it to our administration. And that's very difficult. It's sort of going into the unknown. It's a bit uphill. We all have enough challenges trying to get things by opposition at our schools. So something new, we want to be able to sell it to our schools. This works. It's been field tested. It's successful. There are good student outcomes that we can enumerate for you. And bring a student along when we're going with our new and able to share with you that it's extraordinary success. What's on the screen there, just get rid of it, is our new campus. I don't know if anybody was at our overseas medical campus ever recently, where we have our conferences. It doesn't look anything like that. We have one auditorium, we can seat maybe 650 people. We have 2 rooms that we can get maybe 100 or so people in. Everything else is tight. But what we're building right now, these photos were just taken on Monday this week, and they're all pretty fast because there's 800 to 1,000 workers on the site making great progress. This is our new school site. We're going to remember where we had dinner last night? We're having an auditorium like that. It's 2,400. Our auditorium now is we are having some of these big rooms over there. A dozen or two of those. Great big glass atrium, rooftop garden, so multi-story academic blocks of the school. We're going to have no shortage of space. It's going to be all brand new, all very exciting, super duper insulated, and we get possession. We're finished construction by the end of January. We'll have possession by the end of March. We'll move in, start the new school year, but all of our conferences will be at the new school site. That's the underground part. This is one of the, what we call double-sized classrooms. We'll be making use of a lot of them. So I just wanted to have that. And the scale is impressive. I don't know what it is. This is our school website, and it's probably all over these documents I've given you. The easiest place to come and find our primary years MUN is from our school website. Click on things that are multi-United Nations, and then click on things that are conferences. And there's our stuff about primary years MUN. All of the resources that we use at primary years MUN are here. What is the United Nations? The United Nations Environment Program, how to be a delegate, as well as right here, this booklet that you have. This booklet is something to say as a PDF, I'm not sure. PDF or as a Word document. We don't think that this is the final version, not by any means. Everything you do, we look at and we reflect on and we criticize it and try to improve it. This is the book that we used last year. The only thing to do is I put the poster on the back. Let me just look you through here very very briefly. We have 2 days with these students. We start at around 8:30 in the morning with opening ceremonies. We start with these kids at 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock on Saturday. And then from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock on Sunday. And in that time, we take them through physical equipment. And we start with, on page 5, an introduction to the United Nations. It's only students who are involved with this. There's no adults over there running anything. I'm not over there running anything. But long before the conference, I select our, what I consider for this school, the very best senior high school girls to chair and work with these kids. There's 2 especially talented chairs whom I work with extra special training, who I work with in the elementary school, so that they would work with the teacher and learn some really good skills in working with the younger kids at the primary level. So when these kids came to the conference, they would have nothing but a series of positive experiences to take home. And so the chairs take them through this booklet, an introduction to the United Nations. There are some questions, but they also have to watch the video. What is the United Nations? It's kind of short. It's I won't torture you with this because it's me narrating it, and although it's covering everything, it's not professionally done. I would say it's the best that I could do with PowerPoint. So anybody here has special talent with media, film, animation, or anything, knock yourself out, improve this. So they work through, you can see the schedule here. Day 1, they have materials, they introduce the chair's welcome message. Then they have session 1. Session 1 takes them through what is the United Nations? Who's the Secretary General? And what are these 3 of the main bodies of the UN? So the CEO's talk all about how the UN works. It's kind of cool. It's very fast. And that, I thought it was so clean done. I used it very costly. Sometimes it works not very good. And if you go back and look at the schedule, session 1, then they get snack time. And then move to the auditorium, opening ceremonies. Then they get some opening ceremonies. Then they go for lunch. Then after lunch, they get session 2. And then midway through the afternoon, they play some UN games. Learn about the UN. And these are for our chairs to create these UN games. And they do that. They got time to build that. And then they have some snack time and dismissal. So they only go for 2 units on the first day. And the second day, they will go through session 3. Oh, session 3 is also on the first day. Sessions 4 and 5 and 6 are on the second day. Introduction to the environmental work of the United Nations. It ties in well with our primary program that they identify with the environment a lot more than they can identify with construction or some of the other issues that we deal with. Environment is something that we don't do. Everything for when we have a conference needs to be accessible to your audience wherever you're producing. And the younger kid, accessible to them, is environmental issues that we see, identify. So if you're doing something like if you're home and watch the animal planet, you can see things. How to do country research. Very basic stuff. And we also provide them with, instead of setting them loose on the internet, we provide them with a standard package there that they look through that, and then they put the information in here. So it's pre-packaged for them. It does 2 things. It saves time, but it also helps them develop some skills on research. They know that they have to pull from material, and then they have to select what applies and put it in the right boxes here. Topic research. How to research the topic, what they should be looking for. The topic we're looking at is oil and gas extraction in 10 parts of the country, and the conflicts that are there on one hand, we want to preserve Antarctica, nobody lives there, nobody has sovereignty, everyone should leave it alone. We've all sort of signed agreements on Antarctica that it should be preserved. And yet, every one of these players is down there skirting the rules as best they can to try to find oil and gas and coal that they can exploit in Antarctica. So the students are researching that issue. Then it comes to starting to draft resolution, making resolution. You're all familiar with the preambulatory words and the operational words. Just like Mr. Utai was presenting yesterday, any state can draft a resolution and present it before the state. So ideally, what we're doing is collaborating with each other to build up a resolution that already has consensus as part of the process. And these young kids are working together. It's a very small group. We have 10 students. Only was exciting, popping in a couple of times, just through the window to see them. Negotiating with each other. So focused on this. Same kids that can let out for lunch, they're facing each other. Focused on this, very intently, and putting together what word should we use in order for this system, putting together this clause. Really cool. Then lobbying and merging. We gave the option. We gave the option on at the end of the first day of talk. Maybe they're tired, they're only 10 years old. Something that at the administrative level we keep putting in front of ourselves and have what we send to school. Something called tyranny of no expectations. If you don't think you can do it, you're right. If you don't think they can do it, you're right. You set the expectations too low to achieve. Tyranny of low expectations is expressed in high school students couldn't possibly handle all of that. Middle school students couldn't possibly handle all of that. Elementary students couldn't possibly handle all of that. Take away the low expectations. Put something there for them. When we first introduced this, we thought we would set the bar this high. We can say, hope that they can accomplish this much. Overall. If they get anywhere near that, you'd be satisfied. When we went through the very first exercise, the kids had to put a whoosh in terms of their research skills, their communication skills, their ability to collaborate with each other, the ideas that they generated, the sophistication of the topics that they brought in and worked with, bringing in their parents. We had parents coming in. Usually, as teachers don't like it. Parents come in and say, what are you doing to my kid? And we were doing it. Parents come in and say, what are you doing to my kid? I used to be able to sit at home and read the sports paper or watch the cartoons on TV, but then they turned the channel to the news. They grabbed the paper away from them. Sitting at the table at dinner time at the end of the day, and my 11-year-old daughter asked me, Dad, so I used to ask her, how are you doing? Fine. She asked me now, Dad, what is your company's statement on environmental sustainability? Yeah. These are the kind of things that excite me. Kids go, we gave them the option at the end of the day Saturday, thinking that they might be tired, but we finish and have like a half a day tomorrow if you want to. Their answer was, no, we've got work to do. How's this planet going to get any better if we just stuff in? So they came in and they put in the full day on summer. And then they came up with their own idea. We didn't have to sit in. They came up with their own idea. Are we attending the closing ceremony? Of course we can. So the front row, set aside for you, and then the front ceremony. We want to make a speech at the closing ceremony. How good is it? somebody make a speech. You don't have to write a speech. No, we're all gonna work on the speech together and build a speech collaboratively, and then we'll make the final speech. I don't know what kind of sound I've got. I call you the one here. They're close to speak from these guys. Sound? Would it work if I plug it in? Well, probably that would work, wouldn't it? Let's see.
This has been a completely new experience for everybody involved, but I am happy to say that it's been successful and fun. This is Sean, the delegate from the USA, and he will be talking about his experience in Dubai. Greetings, fellow delegates, honorable chairs, and esteemed guests. My name is Sean, and I am here to represent the PYWN. We have experienced a great part end-to-end, where we have to look into global food issues. We have to take action, debate, and lobby around the company. We also have to write our own resolutions to solve global food issues. I've done amazing things as a PYWN. We love to debate, lobby, discuss solutions amongst others, and play games that help us develop our knowledge of the UN. I really enjoyed this experience and would love to recommend the upcoming grade 5 students to have a go at this wonderful experience. I had lots of fun as well as time to stay away from my home and study at school. Thank you for listening.
I think that's pretty powerful. Sean is 10 years old. Sean is in front of an audience that is full like this, 600 people. Ask 10 students. Articulate, good eye contact. English is not his first language. Sean, in 2 days, along with the other delegates, got so much at all kinds of levels, at a fun level, at a teacher wanting student outcome level, communication skills, confidence. He doesn't know he's supposed to be afraid of public speaking in front of a large audience. Isn't that cool? Most of us are. If not you, most of us are. I think it's just great. Somebody keep me on time. Okay. So what we're doing this year is we're going to follow pretty much the same thing again with their student feedback. There's the variety of resources there that we'll be reviewing, and if anybody can give us some support on that, that would be awesome. There are, let's see. If you wanted to, sorry, if anybody wanted to come to the conference, we're using just this website. You can join up here. Also come to the middle years conference or the primary conference. What can I tell you? The mechanics of it are not that complicated. There has to be some extra scaffolding in place, some extra resources that are here. Download these things, make improvements on them, work with your own kids. Have an after school club. Maybe that could be a project for high school end learners. Have something for your elementary school kids. Have an elementary school any questions? This is PowerPoint that I then turned into a video for the kids to use. And it just tries to keep things simple for the kids. What does a deli do? And then we have them practice. And the practice reading of in cans. Warm to this. So where I just showed you on the website there, I'll also put all those things.
As an awesome that PowerPoint was that they put
I thought I had done that, but I moved it into a folder and I hadn't put it into it. So I'll just put it under this, under PY, under the PY month stuff to go over here for everybody. Or did I already? I did do, maybe I did. Chairs have soft copy. Chairs can move a lot if they want to. But they like having this in their hand. They like that. And there's also the issue that our school is pretty good in terms, and Singapore is pretty good in terms of internet accessibility. And our school is very strong fiber network and computers all seem to work. But I never trusted that the computer will absolutely work Sunday morning when you need it to. So I think. Oh, I see what happened. So just going back to the same place. So I'll put those things up there. Thank you for coming. This was like it's been announced. This was short notice. But I thought it was one of the exciting things that we're doing. I don't like the sound of it when I hear, hey, we're breaking new ground and what it does. But I think we kind of are breaking new ground, and I think it's worth looking at. Let me share with you back there. This is a newsletter. And every single year, we have a newsletter for all things that happen in MUN.
We put that to the students.
This one?
Yeah.
It's collaborative effort. I have sections that are for the students. I have sections that are for the parents. There's a report from different grade levels, not all of them in one year, but there's a parent note at the bottom of page 3, and there's a student corner somewhere, MUN alumni, people who have graduated who aren't students at our school anymore. What's the MUN meant to them? And visitors and feedback from a variety of sources attesting to the value of knowledge and language. As Lisa was mentioning, and like she did, doing a survey to find feedback from everybody, what impact it's going to have on their lives. I've been trying to do that on a small scale myself, keeping in touch with students who have since moved on. Feedback, how was this session compared to what you might hope for?
Especially that's another section here. Because often kids ask for what is it, this is about, something concrete that they like.
Very well. All right, I've got a presentation, I need to have a room somewhere. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. Very kind of you. If you want any other resources, you know how to find the website, right? It's there. I think it's right there.
Yes.
Or you can just go, like I said, to our school's website and modernization conferences and all this stuff. Or you can send me an email. My email's on there somewhere as well. Would anybody like a poster for the upcoming middle year MUN conference? There's two versions of it. One or the other. What does that say? I had some debate whether you could see that. Right here for you, if you want to take one, feel free.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Are we good on time, fellas?
Hey, how are you? Let's see, 1, 2. Buckle my shoe.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Cold no eve. This is gonna be rough. Emily's gonna do so bad. Do you have a doctor?
The guy who was here earlier has one, but he left.
This the one? Maybe they bring.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Thank you very much.
And then we're gonna try and track down a clicker.
Do you have a video presentation for you or no?
I
Only PowerPoint.
I have PowerPoint and there is a video that I do have.
Just choose this.
Excellent.
Alright, is there anything else you like?
Let's see. This is Bluetooth.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're all set.
No, this is not the Bluetooth. This is wireless.
Oh, there's
Is there a limit of people you want in the room?
as many as can fit.
Okay, thank you.
Have I got everything?
Thank you. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, because on my old laptop, my remote for my Apple TV worked on it, but this one doesn't have the new MacBooks don't have the infrared.
Yeah, it didn't.
So I'm like, I was like, uh-oh, I got a problem. I didn't use it last night.
Jun. Comes. Jun.
So you guys have the lapel
May
mic?
signal ka? Hindi, yung kahapon din, di ba? Nakita mo yung kanina, hindi. Kahapon ganun din. Kung okay na pick naman sa ano. Try mo nga, iba to. Okay na yan. Wala naman din ano. This is okay, Koy?
Yep, that's me. My name is huge. And then I do have a YouTube video.
Dyan, punta ka doon sa, kotse ko. Doon sa,
So is it just through the audio jack here?
Yeah.
I'm the IT guy, so I'm supposed to be assisting.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I don't blow out speakers.
Can you full your volume from your Mac? Yeah.
All right, let's see how loud this is.
Yeah. Hindi ka naka-on. Ilabas mo sa ano, sa
Yeah, it's still pretty loud.
Kaya mo konti.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games.
Yeah, libit mo lang yan. Siya na ang bahala. Libit mo lang yung ano, yung volume niya kanyan. Hindi mo lang gagawin. And off mo tong left turn.
Testing.
Yun. On mo. Yeah, kaya pantaki.
Testing.
Yun. Libit mo lang yan. Lahat. Okay na yung volume. Huwag mo na yung angat. Pwede rin kung kaya mo. Sige na. Okay. Yes, I have a sweet dish.
All right, good morning, everybody. I guess failure is a pretty popular topic today. It's kind of strange, but all right, we'll run with it. So good morning and welcome. Just so you all know, I'm fighting off a bit of a cold, so if I start coughing or whatever during the presentation, just bear with me. If I collapse, just call 999. And I really appreciate all of you coming out today. When Emily Wilson, my colleague at Northwestern, reached out to me and told me about this leadership conference that was going on, I immediately wanted to get involved. I think it's a really important topic to discuss with students, particularly at a young age. And seeing you coming here today speaks a lot for your drive and your focus and your maturity. And so she said, well, it's a really impressive group. They're very dynamic, they're animated, and so I'm expecting a lot of activity and feedback during this presentation. And Emily and I ended the conversation. I said, okay, great, I'll get involved. And then she said, would you like to present? I said, sure. And then I realized, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? All right, let's think about this. I could talk about different leaders that I've studied. Okay, that's kind of boring. How about leaders that I've learned from? A little better. Maybe some leadership experience that I've had. Maybe my first time as a leader. And I realized these are all elements that are kind of the leadership 101. The basics that you'll do. It's any textbook or autobiography that you'll read on any major leader. So here I was, signed up to present, ready to go, and I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm stuck on an idea. And so I said, listen, let's brainstorm this out. And my advice to you, come up with whatever routine works for you and how to brainstorm an idea. It could be, plopping down on the couch, throwing your feet up, closing your eyes, and letting just your mind wander a bit, go for a run, play the drums. My routine is I'll throw on my headphones and listen to music. So on my way home from work one day, don't worry, someone else was driving. So I put on my headphones, set the music to random, and just see what pops into my head. So the standard music runs through, Rolling Stones, big fan, Arctic Monkeys, The Who, and then the song Gonna Fly comes on. And for those of you not familiar, that's the theme song to Rocky. So who here has seen the movie Rocky? All right, good, because this was going to be a real rough presentation otherwise. So here we have Rocky Balboa, right? He's this scrappy fighter from Philadelphia. Wasn't the biggest, wasn't the strongest, certainly wasn't the smartest fighter. And he was a southpaw, he was left-handed. And so here he is, he gets this opportunity to fight Apollo Creed, the world heavyweight champion of the world. And he trains, he goes in, it's great, you got the big montage. What happens at the end of the fight in the first Rocky movie? Who can tell us? Yeah, he loses. Rocky lost. So here's this great epic movie, it wins an Academy Award, and our hero, he loses. Great. So Rocky then, goes on. We have the sequel, Rocky II. So Rocky trains with Mickey, his trainer, and they learn from the first time of fighting Apollo. And Mickey turns to Rocky and says, you're going to fight right-handed. He says, Mickey, I'm left-handed. You're going to fight right-handed. Apollo won't see it coming. So they train and they train and they train. And so, they go through the big fight, punch for punch, and Rocky, as they get to the final round, Mickey says, switch. He says, no tricks, I'm going to fight. He says, switch. And he switches and fights left-handed. Apollo doesn't see it coming. For those of you, spoiler alert, at the end, they fight. They both fall to the ground. And the referee is counting. 4, 5, 6. Rocky stumbles to his feet. 7, 8, 9. Rocky gets up the last second. The referee points at Apollo. 10, you're out. Rocky wins, the world heavyweight champion of the world. He learned from what happened the first time, changed his routine, built a team that can make him a winner. And that's when I realized, failure. It's a great topic. Not many people choose it. So the importance of failure in the leadership process. So I contacted Emily and she said, sounds like a good topic, and here we are today. So welcome to Falling Forward, the art of learning through failing. So today's discussion. First, I'd like to start off just showing a quick video of what I think is a very important lesson on failure itself.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
Now, very few will doubt that Michael Jordan is not only one of the greatest basketball players to play the game, but one of the greatest athletes to ever play a sport. And it kind of puts things in perspective when you realize how many times he failed at what he did. So kind of an overview of things today. I want to talk about, ways that we can talk about leadership and failure. And when I say we, I want this to be an interactive conversation. Emily said that some of you are, lively and outgoing. You guys are the best and the brightest of the group. So I'm really going to hold her to that and hold you guys to that as well. So the topics that we're going to cover in itself. So we have the importance of failing, the importance of pushing yourself and taking risks, and then also being a leader in times of failure. Now, you could be a leader, you could be the captain of a sports team, you could be running a company, you could be just, a member of your family, and leading through that capacity. And then, of course, it's getting back up, like Rocky did. He failed, he fell, he got back up. And that's what's really, really important. So there are a lot of emotions that go along with failing in itself. So participation time. So what words come to mind to you when you think about failure? Disappointment. Okay, good. Loss. Yep. What was that? Learning. All right. What about things like embarrassing? Feeling shame. Okay, these are all things. How about being nervous? How about being angry? You can be angry at yourself. Okay, you could be angry at an opponent. You could be angry at the situation you might have been put in. Maybe you feel, how many times you said, I was set up to fail. There's no way I could have won at this. So we also want to talk about how have you failed? How have you ever failed? I've failed. I failed many times. When I was an undergrad, I went to Babson College in Massachusetts. It's a business school. And my freshman year, I was part of a team of 30 where we actually had to start a company. Soup to nuts. Business plan, pitch it, get funding for it, run it. All of our profits, if we have any, went to charity. And a lot of pressure that goes with it. And so here you have a bunch of 17, 18, maybe some 19-year-old kids running a business. And so we built our business plan. I was pretty involved in writing that. And our company, we decided to have 2 CEOs, co-roles. And I was nominated for that, and the 30 people within the company elected 2 other people. I wasn't elected. I'm a very competitive person. And all those emotions, those words we spoke about earlier, I felt all of them. Felt that I'd worked hard, that I was a good leader, and that I deserved that position. And so getting then back into that, and we'll come to how that story plays out in a moment. Think about times that you may have failed at something, and really the perspective and the situation that it was. So what makes us so scared to fail? Because that's really what it's about. Failing, you get back up, depending on the nature of what it is. But it's the fear ahead of time that tends to be the biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle. Personally, my biggest fear is getting laughed at. It's always been that way. When I was a kid, it was all about not taking risks because someone might laugh at me for it. And as I kind of thought more about it and learned more about it, I realized the fear was not so much the failure aspect, but the fear was how people perceived me going into it, that they felt that there was no way that I could accomplish the task at hand. And that was hard for me. And so once I kind of stepped back and realized, well, they're not attempting it either. They're judging me. And you know what? I don't care. I'm going to go out and I'm going to try it. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. But I was able to separate that failure aspect from the fear aspect, and I was able to get over it. And I started to see that potential for failure as a motivator, something that challenged me, nothing to be afraid of. So how about you? Why are you scared to fail? Fear of disappointing your parents. It's a huge one. What else?
Fear of being left out.
Fear of being left out amongst your peers and other students, maybe?
Fear of, it's mostly fear. It's not, like, you don't want to fail because you want to, it's, no, you don't want to not fail certain things because it's not about satisfying yourself, but it's mostly about satisfying others.
So it's the perceptions that others will have of you. Could be all of a sudden it's, oh man, I failed my road test. You know, see a couple of nodding heads. Failing road test is a popular one. All of these different aspects. Yeah, fear of being embarrassed. Other people have seen you do this.
Fear of if you fail this, it's going to affect your future and like you're not going to have a good one.
Exactly, the ripple effect. If I fail this, it means that I won't advance in other areas. Exactly, it's very emotional. You know, not being able to succeed at something. You start to doubt your own abilities. Sure, again.
Sorry, it's just another point that I want to add. It's a question.
Sure.
Does failure have to be exactly when it comes to education or also other things like failing in a relationship or failing at doing a certain thing like saving someone's life or failing at?
Failing can be anything. You may perceive a desired outcome, okay? It could be passing a road test, it could be getting an A on an exam, anything that you haven't lived up to a perceived expectations, your own expectations, your parents' expectations, your teachers' expectations, society's expectations. So let's look in the back room. I see a hand somewhere there. Sir?
Fearing that nothing ever took our golden chances.
Exactly. Was everyone able to hear that? Oh, can you speak up a little bit?
Fearing that exactly never took our golden chances.
Exactly, and because in many cases, that's true. It's if you didn't attempt something, okay, you didn't take that risk. So all those things, making us scared to fail. So my freshman year, so I wasn't elected CEO, but the two CEOs, realizing, going back to that business plan, and they said, all right, we need a CFO, Chief Financial Officer. And I'd written most of our financial outlook for the company. So they nominated me. I was elected into that role, and I loved it. I embraced it. I said, I'm going to be the best CFO that I can be for our company. Financially, our company did very well. We were able to donate quite a bit to charity. And during that whole time, I never had a moment where I looked back and said, if only I had been CEO. So, perspectives on failure. So being a leader, you need to put in context what's maybe at risk, the magnitude of failure. So for instance, has anyone here gone skydiving? Okay. If that fails, big magnitude. It's not going to go right. If you're a business and you're launching a product, if I'm launching a sneaker and it fails in the marketplace, If I'm launching an artificial heart and it fails in the marketplace, yeah, that's a bad one. Understand the magnitude of what you're really looking at. If you're an athlete, play football, miss a penalty kick, okay, you lost the game. Guess what? There's another game. Might have been in the championship game. Guess what? There's another season. It's really putting in perspective the magnitude of what it is that you're potentially failing at. Creating the right environment. So the environment for which being able to take the risks and fail. Are people feeling comfortable that if I fail, am I going to be ridiculed for it? Am I going to be fired for it? Am I going to be yelled at? Am I going to be laughed at? All of these things, is the environment set that these are moments of ridicule and yelling, or are these teaching moments? How will this be perceived within your community with the other stakeholders in what you're doing? Taking risks, calculated risks. Like I said, skydiving. I'm making sure that the chute gets packed properly by someone who's qualified to do it. That artificial heart is being designed properly, tested properly, and put in someone's chest by a surgeon. It's always important to make sure that you're calculating what it is you're doing and understanding that if it fails, what is the ripple effect of that? Pay attention to warning signs. If you're trying things out, you're getting negative feedback. If the people that work for you kind of feel uneasy about it and they're questioning the direction that it's going in, be mindful of all of those things. These are warning signs that it might not be going right. Might be important to kind of step back to that drawing board. So there's that term, don't shoot the messenger. So if someone comes to you and they kind of let you know that something is failing or is about to fail, how do you react to that? So, let's say you're Tesla, you're Elon Musk. Everyone know who Elon Musk is? SpaceX, Tesla, PayPal, yeah. And your lead engineer, electric car company. I see a couple of nodding heads, So your lead engineer comes to you and says, our new engine prototype, it's not working. Okay? We've had 90 days to build it. We're now at that 3-month mark. It just doesn't work. Now you can go 2 routes. You can absolutely blast this guy and say, you're incompetent. I can't believe this. You've had 90 days. Any halfway decent engineer can do this in 60 days. Why doesn't this work? I mean, this is outrageous. I can't believe it. Your team is just incompetent. Is that person going to now be willing to take a risk again? Is that person going to even want to work for you? Or if I was to turn around in that same situation, they come in and they kind of give me this heads up, and I say, sure, let's see what we can do. Thanks for coming in. Let's sit down. So what do we think isn't working right? What steps should we be doing to see what we can do to fix it? What is needed to make this happen? And how can we learn from the past 90 days and improve things going forward? So notice the word choices. What do we think? What are our next steps? These are all inclusive. It's not I was right and you failed. It's we're all in this together. It's creating an environment where you as a leader have made it a point to others saying, you know what? You might manage something, but we're all in on it. If one of us fails, all of us fails. And we're going to treat any of these failures as teaching moments. And then you bring everyone in. We are going to discuss this. We are going to learn from it. We are going to improve on it. We are going to succeed. So perspectives on failure from team members. You will not immediately go out there and be a leader. You have to start somewhere and work your way through. Is the environment where you have the courage to speak up? Do you have that manager who's going to call you incompetent and stupid? Or do you have that manager, that leader that's going to turn around and say, let's talk. Let's see how we can address this. If the environment is right, you're not going to be scared to ask questions and and bring things up. And that also includes questioning that leader. If they say, we're going to go this way, it's you being able to say, you know what, I'd like to discuss an alternative. You're being respectful, but you're bringing something to everyone's attention. And that's important. What is your intent? Is your intent to undermine that leader? Is that your intent to get your idea across? Or is your intent to improve everything as a whole and move the group forward? So, why is failing important? Don't play the blame game. Don't turn around and say, you know what, this was your fault. Can't believe this. Again, you had 90 days to do this. Anyone could have done it in 60. You failed. No, that's not how you want to play it. We want to learn from this failure. You say, you know what the challenge was? It's how the battery hooks up. Okay, well, what can we do? Listen, we've got an electrical engineer. Let's bring him in. Let's see what he can say. You're all looking at this from the standpoint of we need to move forward. We need to learn from this. See these as challenges. One of the great things, so I'm reading a book right now, it's called Smart Cuts, and it takes a look at ways in which people have been smarter in how they move from point A to point B. And it's not just, you know, one of the references they make is you go way, way back. I'm not that old, but where, you know, people got from point A to point B on horseback. And the improvement process was breeding faster horses. But eventually people came along and said, we're not talking about making faster horses, we're talking about alternative ways to get from point A to point B, cars. So all of those aspects is seeing things that aren't going right as a challenge to improve upon it. All right. So if we're going to talk about failure and how we learn from failure, we really need to look at things that, well, may not have gone right and how this process works. So it's important to learn how not to do something. Does anyone know what this is? Yeah, it's a Dyson vacuum, right? And you'll now see it. It's sold all over the world. You know, it's become, you know, synonymous with innovation and technology within, you know, a variety of areas. You know, a lot of actually the restrooms, they have that hand fan thing that you don't have to touch anything. How many prototypes? How many ways do you think these guys attempted to build this? Anyone have any guesses, any numbers?
300.
300? What else?
1,000.
You got 1,000? Okay. They built 5,127 ways not to build a Dyson vacuum. It's a lot of prototyping. This is before the days of 3D printing and everything else. So you had design engineers going through over 5,000 versions of a vacuum cleaner. I happen to own a Dyson, much later model. Yeah, I'm glad they built 5,000 of these. Building off of failure. Sometimes you will launch things, they flop completely, but it sets the stage for things in the future. What's this? Yeah, okay, you guys were not even born yet when this came out. This is the Apple Newton. So the Newton was a PDA, and this was, it didn't work over Wi-Fi. Bluetooth hadn't really existed yet. It pretty much kept your calendar and contacts, and it was local, so you had to type everything in with that little stylus. So this launched in 1993. Pretty expensive. And so this was Apple's first attempt to go through this. Now this is during that transitionary time period. As many of you know, you've seen in the movie, Steve Jobs got fired from his own company before returning in 1997. And one of the big things with this is how the stylus, the pen that goes with it. Because this flopped so badly, that is why Steve Jobs said, we will never have a stylus for an Apple product, ever. So in his first 3 months, they sold 50,000 units. That's not very good. So yanked from the market. But it set the stage for people to say, all right, these handheld devices, but the technology isn't there yet. The market isn't there yet. Fast forward to now. The iPhone 6 in 3 days sold 10 million units. But had it not been for the failed Newton and the prototyping and trying out and seeing what worked and what didn't, and realizing that just the market wasn't there yet, without that failed atrocity, you would not have the iPhone 6. It's important to realize what matters. This goes back to when we talked about the context and that marketplace of what you have. So, and in fact, even when you go after a more ambitious goal, even if you fail, all the side effects that come along the way can be that much more rewarding and significant in their own right. So why is this important? So this was actually someone's response in their failed attempt. They were going to run a business where you can order pizza via fax machine. Does everyone know what a fax machine is? Yeah, exactly. There was no way that this was going to work even when fax machines were in heavy use. So this person could have turned around and said, you know what? I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur. This was a terrible idea. This is never going to work. And so why does this failed attempt really matter? Because this failed idea came from Sergey Brin. And he kept working and studied technology and kept working on things. You guys know Sergey Brin later started a company? Yeah. It worked out pretty well in the end for Sergey Brin. But his first attempt, his first business idea, wasn't going to work. So he went back and said, you know what? Let me keep trying. Times will come about, much like my situation, where if I failed, I got laughed at. Other people are going to turn around, even before you get started on something, and say, you're going to fail at that. You can't do it. So this man is a much younger photo. He was fired as an editor of a newspaper. They said, because you lack imagination, you have no original ideas. And he could have said, you know what, you're right, I don't, I'll go into a different field. He opened an animation studio, went bankrupt, came up with a new grand idea. And hundreds of banks were like, no, never going to work. Do you guys know who this person is? Exactly. $30 billion a year later, Walt Disney, and it's all of its subsidiaries, ABC, Pixar. Thankfully, he didn't give up when others said, you're going to fail. We talked about if you're a leader. Now, most of the times you have to lead someone. So when you put together a team, you want to put together as best a team as you can. We mentioned Elon Musk earlier. Elon Musk is part of a group. They're known as the PayPal Mafia. The PayPal Mafia was this group of innovators. They created PayPal, sold it off to eBay, and individually they've broken off. And actually, Chad Hurley will be here next week. He's one of the co-founders of YouTube. PayPal Mafia, Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn, PayPal. So a lot of these guys came from that group. So they had a really strong team within it. Has anyone heard of Odeo? Okay. You won't hear the name anymore. They got sold off. But basically, early on with MP3 players, they created a platform that you can record podcasts, share them with other people. But when iTunes turned around and said, we're going to have a platform for podcasts, they went, ooh, yeah, we can't compete with that. So the team got together at Odeo and went, all right, what are we going to do? We need to pivot. We need to change our direction. This idea, it's going to fail. We can't survive in the marketplace against iTunes. So one of the guys in the group raised his hand and said, well, this idea of sharing your voice amongst your peers. Been kind of tinkering with a way to do it, but it goes with text. I said, okay. So the team sold off the podcast platform and focused the new efforts on sharing text, 140 characters at a time. Yeah. So the original idea, Apple was going to undercut them. They looked within the team and they had something in the works, and it's done all right. So let's look back at our friend Rocky Balboa, the Italian stallion. So he learned how not to do something. He trained the way he knew. He fought hard, but he lost. How did he build off the failure the way that Apple did? He learned that Apollo knew his weaknesses. He was expecting the left-handed fighter and just pummeled him. How did he look within his team? Mickey, greatest trainer in movie sports history. And his trainer turned around and said, Rock, this is a terrible impression. He said, Rock, you're going to fight him. But you're going to fight him right-handed. No tricks, Mick. You're going to fight him right-handed. And at the end, he said, switch. He caught Apollo off guard twice. Getting back up. And the later Rocky movie, probably something that you have also seen, when Rocky turns to his son and says, it's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can take a hit and get back up. So he fought right-handed, caught Apollo off guard, and then at the end switched to left-handed and knocked Apollo out. He learned from his way through it. So earlier on, when I shared with you my experience where I failed, I asked you to think a bit about your own experiences and to think back at, okay, I failed at X. So I want you to take a minute and do 3 things. I want you to think about a moment that you failed at something you did. Could be big or small. What did you learn from failing? Looking back now, and everything we've spoken about today, what did you learn? More importantly, how can you share this lesson with others? How can you now teach others to learn from your failure? So take a minute and be prepared to raise your hand. I'll call on a couple of you because I'd like you to actually share your experience with the group. So give a minute to try and formulate your thoughts. All right, do you guys formulate a couple of ideas in the mix? All right, let's call on 2 or 3 of you guys in 1 minute or less to share with us kind of what that failure was, what you learned from it, and how would you teach the person next to you, and how would you teach this room the lesson that you learned and how they can grow off of it. All right, so I need 3 people. You got 1? Come on. 2? And your friend just sold you out? Yeah, come on up. Come on. Come on up on stage, don't be scared. All right, so like we said, so in about a minute, 2 minutes, explain to us what was the failure, what did you learn, And how can this group learn from you? And just speak up.
Okay, now, as I previously asked, what's your name again?
Greg.
As I previously asked, Greg, like...
Actually, can everyone hear?
You're the only person who said no, you learn more. Anyway, so as I previously asked, that failure doesn't have to be because of, like in terms of education. No, you can also fail at life. You can fail at many other things. Now, 7 months ago, I failed at saving a life, my father's life. I'm not going to turn this into some support group thing. But 7 months ago, my father passed away. It was in his sleep. And I was the only one who had the chance to save his life. I was the only one there. And it also came in a rough time back when I had my final GCSE exams. And as most of you know, the GCSE students, GCSEs are pretty difficult. So back at that time, exactly a week after whatever happened, I decided to, okay, get up back on my feet, study, work hard, and chase my dreams. And after that time, I actually passed all of my exams. So I failed at senior life. I didn't get straight A's as usual, but I can also succeed at inspiring other people. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, so I always have a loud projecting voice. So one of the ways in which I failed, in having my own business and entrepreneurial endeavors, that lends itself to failure a lot of times where you're faced with something where it's like, okay, I didn't see it going in this direction. Here we are, and now we have to figure out where to go from here. In a very basic way, what I learned starting my businesses was sometimes the people that are your clients that you're contracting with don't pay you on time, even though you'd like them to pay you on time from a financial perspective. If you're an employee, you can pretty much count on that check coming every 2 weeks, or however the structure is. But I realized pretty quickly that a lot of times people don't like to pay on time, and yet you have financial requirements of making sure that your bills are paid on time, or anyone that's working for you is paid on time. And there were instances at the start where cash flow didn't come in the way that I would have wanted it to, or the way that I planned it to, and I was left to that uncertainty, and I had to find ways to address that. So moving forward, it certainly taught me the importance of making sure that you always have money that's there as backups, around making sure that, okay, if somebody doesn't give you the check that you were owed, even if it's a lot of money, with certainty that you have all of your needs covered. That was something that I could have only learned through experience in certain ways. And it's something that when I talk to other entrepreneurs, we have to be able to have honest conversations around some of the unique challenges and some of the struggles and failures that we face so we can be resilient and move forward.
So, one way I failed was in the end of last school year, we had some student council elections for whoever would have the positions for this year's school year. So I was a 10th grader, so I ran for the position of activities coordinator. I was really excited about it. I put my all into it, and I really, really worked hard. And I was really hoping to win. But my opponent was, she was a really popular person. And I think it was, I thought it was really hard for me to win, but I really worked hard for it. And as expected at the end, I lost, but by a very small amount of votes. So I felt really bad. And I felt like, okay, I'm never going to do this again, I could never achieve something like that. But then later, my high school supervisor came up to me and she said, "You know what, Balsam, the secretary just dropped out of the position and we have a vacancy. And I thought you'd be a really good candidate for this. So would you like to take this?" So I thought about it and I thought, wow, that means I would be the only junior who would have a senior position. And that would have been so amazing for me. So I took it. So now I am the only junior in a senior position. And I know that if I did win for activities coordinator, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to be in a higher position like this. And I feel really happy about this. And what I learned is that sometimes you fail in life and you feel really sad and disappointed and things like that. And you just feel like, I will never do this again. But what you need to know is that life, it's gonna make you feel bad, but you should always know that later something better is gonna come up, and you're gonna forget, and you're gonna be actually happy that you failed. So that is my story. Thank you.
All right, so again, thank you so much, everyone, for coming out today and hearing the presentation. I hope that it was what you had expected from this. Again, enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you very much.